Wants to record from your end, Travi.
Yes.
Send your record request. All right. So we'll look at general introduction to web development since we are starting from the scratch. So we need to start by knowing what is website development. Then we'll also look at the IDEs available for web development. Then we'll also look at the various languages that are out there for web developments. Okay, so to start with, how do we define websites? What is a website that we want to learn how to develop? A website is the collection of files that can either be stored in a local server or a remote server for the public to access via an address called website address or URL, which is Uniform Resource Locator. So that is a professional way of defining websites. But if we are to bring it down to a layman definition, we can then define website as a collection of information on the internet. Now, we need to also understand that a website is one of the digital marketing tool or a platform for advertising content on the internet. So these are two different definitions of website. There could be other definition based on the perspective anyone is saying it from. Now, let's talk about the IDE used in developing or in coding generally. What do we mean by IDE for coding? Now, the full meaning of IDE means Integrated Development Environment. Integrated Development Environment, which simply means a platform that allows a programmer to write code. A platform that allows a programmer to speak any of the programming languages, such as all the ones included in building websites. So just like an application that is customized for every code writer, just like when you want to type a letter, you consult Microsoft Word as a text editor. So that is how all these IDE for writing code. So every programmer must surely consult one of the IDE before he or she can successfully program or write any code. Now, the word coding itself means it means, how do I put it? Writing set of instructions for the computer to carry out. That is the meaning of the word coding. Why code are those set of commands that can be used to instruct the computer to perform a specific task. So when you say a programmer is someone who knows how to program those set of instruction for the computer to perform either single tasks or multiple tasks. Hope you are following.
Yes, sir.
Now, we'll now look at the website end. Let's look at website end or website interface. Website interface or end. Most time we refer to them as what? Ends. Now, websites, when we say website end or website interface, we are acknowledging that what we call website can actually be divided into two different ends or two different interfaces, whereby the first interface is called the user interface. Now, it is that same user interface that we refer to as the front end of a website because that particular interface is created for the users. And that particular interface does not require any login details like password before the user can access that particular aspect. All they need is to get the Uniform Resource Locator address, which is the URL. Once they type it on a browser, it should automatically take them to that front end. Now, we also have the back end. The back end is the administrative part of a website, which the user does not have direct access to. Before you can access any website back end as a user or even as an admin, you must log in. You'll be asked to input your login ID and your password. So a practical example to represent these two ends is just like your physical building. So for someone who build houses like you as an architectural, you should already know that what you do in the site is the same thing we are doing here. The only thing that we are all builders, only that some people build virtual houses, while some build physical houses. Now, if we look at the way the physical house works, we have a sitting room. That sitting room is what we are referring to as the front end. The sitting room, you notice that your visitors have access to it once the main door is open. So the main door in this case is the URL. But the user does not have access to your bedroom. Your bedroom is the back end. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Your bedroom is the back end. Before anyone can proceed from the sitting room, the person must ask for a permission. Can I go in or not? So that is a simple way we can explain the difference between the front end and the back end. Now, each of these ends now require languages to learn for you to be able to develop them. So I will start with the languages involved for developing the front end. So front end programming languages. Now, for us to develop the front end, we need to learn some languages. Some of these languages, they are core programming languages, while some, they are just subordinative languages. So we start by learning what we call HTML. So HTML represents hypertext markup. markup language. That is the full meaning of HTML. Now, the primary purpose of HTML in web development is for establishing the website structure. It is the HTML that creates the content. The content in this case are those information you publish in your website, which could be images, could be write-up, could be links, could be design. So all of that falls under contents. So the role of HTML is to allow us to create them within our website pages. Now, HTML was never intended to style, in other words, to modify any content it should have created. So once it comes to the user interface design, which is the UI, making the interface look good for the users to have a good experience, you need to involve another language called the CSS, the styling language. So the CSS felt that the content the HTML will have created, they are not properly arranged. They are not decorated. They are not presentable enough for users to have good experience. Therefore, CSS is involved to help HTML to adjust them, to modify them, and to make them look readable and presentable. Hope you are still with me.
Yes.
So that is why you need CSS as another front-end language, just for decorating and restructuring the content HTML will have been able to add to your pages. So the full meaning of CSS is cascade style sheet. Cascade style sheet, like I said, we cannot actually say that both HTML and CSS, they are not core programming language. They are just there to support the main language. So the main language, as far front end is concerned, is the JavaScript. The back end, the main language could either be Python for the back end development, or PHP, or Node.js. So these are the main back-end development languages. So at the end of the day, you now know why you are choosing Python to implement your back-end, or why you are choosing PHP to implement your back-end, or why you are choosing Node.js to also implement your back-end. Now, we also have the third one, which is the JavaScript. So the JavaScript is a programming language which is used to add interactivity to a website. Now, when we say interactivity, we are talking about action. For a website to be interactive, it means that what? Things are communicating. It means that there is an effective communication between the elements, or between the contents and the users. For example, you get to a website, you notice that images will be sliding simultaneously. That is interactivity, because you notice that after some time, the website is not static. The images changes based on the time interval programmed by the developer, that after every second, change the image, another second, bring in another one. So it's making the website look interactive. And most users love that. People don't like visiting a website that the way they meet content, after staying there for like 10 minutes, the content does not change. That means the website is a static website. That is the type of website that you will have created just with two languages. That is the markup language, which is the HTML or CSS. Once JavaScript is involved, the website should have some effects, should have some action. Some things should just be popping up, once in a while. The whole website should not just be fixed in one place. It should be dynamic. Things should be changing per time. So that is the role of JavaScript. Now, apart from interactivity, one of the major aspects of applying JavaScript is for developing applications, for integrating application. You can actually integrate application in JavaScript. Applications like all these WooCommerce, like all these payment gateway. So there are other applications like ads, like all these Google ad. You can be in a website after some time, an advert can just pop up. Even your form, you can add JavaScript to it. So there are a lot of apps we can actually integrate in our website through JavaScript. So that is why it's one of the main language in web development that gives developer tough time. But if you actually stay true, it's a language you enjoy when it starts functioning in your website. Hope that is clear before I.
Yes, sir.
So now,
Yes, sir.
okay. So now we know the front-end languages. If you want to be a front-end developer, you need to be familiar with these three languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Script.
Now, for the back end, like I've mentioned, we need PHP. We need PHP. For the back end, we need PHP. For the back end, we need PHP. You need PHP. And then we also need SQL. And then lastly, it's not a language, but it's part of what you are expected to learn as part of the back end, which is hosting, web hosting. That is for the back end. Now, what is PHP? PHP means peripheral. Peripheral hypertext preprocessor. That's the full meaning of PHP. It is for file handling, for data handling. It's for data handling. Now, let me just explain how PHP works in your website. Currently, remember I mentioned other two back-end languages or server-side languages. I mentioned Python, I mentioned Node.js, and I also mentioned PHP. Now,
Yes.
PHP is, if we look at the website we have there, or in terms of age or history, PHP have the largest community because this is one of the factors which you use in choosing your language. What we mean by community? Community means people that are practicing in that domain. And in as much you have a lot of people practicing in that domain or working with that language, when you run into problem, you always get what? Assistance, because people will have gone through that challenge. And when you go to Google, try to find out what could be the cause of that challenge, you will easily find solution because people have gone through that road. And there are people that have experienced the same issue you are experiencing that will have probably published how they resolve it. So that is one of the reasons why we are still using PHP. It has the highest, the largest community because it has been around before all these Python and the rest. Now, PHP is very friendly when it comes to building website system like dashboards and the rest of them. Now, what the way PHP work is that, for example, the form that you create in your front end, when the user fill those forms, then you need a language to carry those users' inputs and dump them at the back end storage, which is the PHP. So it's just like the pipe that is connecting the front end form or the entire front end data to the back end. So just like the part in which data passes from the front end to the back end database. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So just like the carrier. So it is not
Mm.
enough for you to just create a form or publish images. If you want to process those images or the form content to the back end, you need a language that processes data, and that is where you involve PHP. Then for Python, if you want to apply Python, Python is actually gradually coming in, but it does not cover community like PHP. Or Python uses a framework, so you don't use Python language purely for the backend. There is a framework called the Django that Python has developed in case you want to leverage on it for your backend development. The Node.js, just like JavaScript server, which we also use when you are developing websites with React, Angular as JavaScript framework as well. Now, SQL, of course, you are already familiar with SQL. SQL means structured query language. Now, as
Language.
developer, we use SQL for creating database where the form will be storing their input, their data when they are received from the user. So SQL is very, very important to us. That is what we use in creating our database and also managing records within our website. Then, of course, hosting, it means putting your website on the internet after locally designed. And that hosting has three aspects. One is to purchase your domain name, which is your URL, the address everyone can use to access your content on the internet. So when hosting, you are going to buy that. Then when hosting, you are going to buy space, either in megabytes or in gigabytes, that will be storing your file, which are the images and other content you will have developed within your website. And then you will also upload. So three things are involved there: buying a domain name, the address, buying a space for storing your file,
Yes.
and then uploading whatever you must have designed within your system into that server. So these are the three things that are involved under hosting. Hope is clear because I want to move to the next topic.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now that we understand the languages and the scheme of work for this program, everything I've explained now should have informed us what we are expecting to learn. So if you look at it, we are expecting to learn how many languages?
About 6.
About six. How did you
The
count
first front end, the 3. The back end, okay.
that?
So
To
that's about 5.
5 languages? All right. Now,
Yes.
the order of learning these languages start from the front end, which is the first one, HTML. Why? Because you use CSS to style content. That means if there's no content, CSS is not useful, right?
Yes.
We use JavaScript to action those content. If there's no content, JavaScript is not also what? Useful. So if you
Useful.
check all of them, everything still starts from what? You having content first. They are all building on the content that you will have created with the help of the HTML.
The
So that's why our next topic now will now be introduction to what? HTML.
HTML.
Introduction, introduction to HTML. That is our next focus. So what is HTML? HTML is a markup language which helps us to create contents majorly in website development. So is a content creator. Let's give it that, I call it. Is a content creator. Is the one that creates the content. Every content you see in your website was created with what? HTML. So that is why there is no website, whichever method you use, there is no website that does not have the input of what? HTML. And that is why we have not seen any other language that can do what HTML does, just like the way we have other language that can do what JavaScript does, what PHP does. But when it comes to HTML, it's still constant. It's still the one that creates content. Now, apart from content creating, HTML defines your website structure. When we say website structure, we are talking about the layouts, the way items are formed, or the shape of your website. So the shape of your website is determined by HTML. For example, let me open our website and show you what HTML does. So you can see, you check this website now, you can see there is a shape. The shape is that the whole of this section is a container. Then the whole of this part is another word, container. Then if you go down, you will see this is another layout. So you can see the structure of the website is very user what? Friendly. So now what we are saying is that it is the HTML that we use in creating, in publishing all this content. Now, all this coloring and others you are saying, they are done by which language? Let me know if you are following the other time. The color,
CSS.
CSS, good. And you can see the color is actually giving the user good experience. It makes them to enjoy,
Yes.
why they are here. That should be your primary purpose as a developer. Always make sure that you are not creating the website for yourself. You are creating the website to entice people. That is why I started by telling you that a website is one of the best digital marketing platform. That is why
Platform.
digital marketer learns website fundamental, because they need to understand that if you want to advertise complex content, it's not all those Facebook. You have to use what? A website.
Website.
Going back to our slide, so at least I've showed you what HTML does in that website. Now, like I said, it's a markup language. Why did I use the word markup? Thank God that you are an engineer. So when you want to start trenching, I think there's what we call trenching, if I still remember the other time, where we start laying the building, as in, digging where the block will be laid, right? To form
Yes, the foundation.
foundation. Good. Now, what did they normally, I remember that time we use rope, right? We use room
Yes.
to form the structure. So you can say that
Yes.
marking out the what? The rooms, the building layout, and the what? The various section within the building. So when we say
Yes.
HTML is a markup, that is the one that what? That defines the shape, the structure of the website. Hope it's clear.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Now, for us to start with the HTML is the next stage. How do I start with the HTML? How do I start speaking it? How do I start using it to publish this content? You have to start by having a root folder. Anytime you want to develop a website for a client or anytime you want to embark on a website project, you are expected to start by creating one folder. And that one folder is referred to as what? The root folder. So I can just name it project. I can just name it, can give it any name. If it is Peter website, you can say Peter website. So in this case, let's just say project. I wanted to use a name that will help me to always identify it. Okay, I will know. Project.
Underscore Peter. So, it's okay.
So project host. Now, this folder, there's a reason because I talked about hosting, that at the end of the day, after your local development, always remember that everything you will have created in this folder will be taken to your remote server, will be uploaded. So the reason why we start by creating a folder so that when we get to the uploading aspect, we will not be looking for our content. Let's imagine that you create your first page, you store it in document. The second page, you store it in a local drive. Then the third page, you store it on desktop. Now, when it's time to upload your content, how do you gather all this content and put them in your remote server? It becomes a problem. That is why we decided to make sure that all our designs should be in one folder. So that
Fold.
start by creating that folder. And this folder, like I said, it is called the root folder. It is one folder that holds all your design content, including all the code you are going to write, all the images you are going to use, all the CSS code for transforming or beautifying your website. Everything, all the resources must be in this folder. Now, it is now left for you to segment them for easier identification when you are developing. Your file structure matters a lot. Now, inside this folder,
Okay.
open it. Inside it, you open it, you create other folders. And there should be a reason why you are creating this other folder. Now, I want to start by creating an image folder. So what I'm going to do with this image folder is the question you should ask yourself. So the reason why I created the image folder is because I understood that I am going to be publishing images across my pages. I'm going to publish some in my home page, publish some in my About Us page, and so on. So whenever I need an image to be published across these pages, I should always have a place where I will have gathered them to call them from. Are you with me?
Okay. Yes, sir.
All those pictures will now be here. So once you create the image folder, then you are expected to meet the client and give you all the images they actually want to showcase. If it's an e-commerce website, you ask them for all their product images and other illustrative images. You make sure you
Mm.
collect and populate them in what? This folder. Now, for the sake of learning, I will just go to a picture. I have some pictures there. So let me just take some of these images. So I will just take them from here and then go back to the folder, go in here and then paste. So at least I have some images to work with. Now, you create another folder inside that first directory. Create another folder. Then that folder has a purpose. It's for holding all the CSS code. So I would like to separate my CSS, my styling code from content creating what? Code. In other words, my HTML code will be separated from what? My styling code. Then I need another folder which should also hold my JS, my JavaScript. So all my JavaScript code will also be separated from the HTML code. Is that taken?
Yes, sir.
So once you
How
have
about the HTML,
no,
the HTML code?
code, now HTML code must not be wrapped in any folder outside the first one.
Oh,
They should
okay.
always be in the main what directory. The reason is that the
Okay.
moment somebody type www. your website address, the browser searches the first entry. So if it cannot find
Which
it,
is
which is this place, which is this, where you
Project Us. Okay. Okay.
if you mistakenly put the HTML file, which is the index page that the browser is going to
Mm,
call in order to contact
mm.
other pages, if you put it inside any of this folder, the browser will display index file not found. So browser is not programmed to search through what any other folder outside what the root folder. That is why our
Folder.
file will be here,
Okay. Okay.
not in any folder. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once you have achieved that, the next step is for you to install this folder in your development environment. Which of the IDE? So you need to install this program. This is the IDE we are using, Visual Studio Code. We have other ones like Sublime Text, Atom, and the rest of them. But this is the most used IDE. Why? Because it is very light. It does not make your system to be slow. Are you with me?
Okay.
It is free,
Yes, sir.
open source. It is free to download on the internet. You don't pay for it. And it comes with a very robust um, library. There are a lot of keywords. If you are speaking HTML, there are a lot of some of these tags that are already
Mm.
stored that you can just what reference instead of you developing them from the scratch. So there are a lot of
Scratch.
things a developer gets when using what any of these advanced IDE. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So if you don't have this, then you have to install it. Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, the first thing, like I said, we are going to do once you have structured your file. So what we just did here now, we structure our what project file. And what is the
Yes, sir.
structure is that we have the main folder. Inside the main folder, we have what? Three other what? Sub folders. That is the structure.
Folders.
Good. Now, we have to install the whole of this project folder inside your development environment so that you can
Okay.
attach your code to it. And whenever you need to get to a resource, you can easily what? Connect it. So you open it.
Okay.
Once you open the editor, let's wait for it to load. All right, so once you load it up, it will always display the last used file. So let me close them and open a blank one so that you can know how we came about all this. Now, this is the folder of the last file. Now, you are supposed to go to File for you to call in your project because right now, the IDE is managing Flourish class. But
Mm.
now you want to switch from Flourish class project to project Austin folder. So to do that, you go to File. What you want to call in here is what? A folder. So you
Folder.
select what? Open folder, not open file. Select open folder. That will take you to your system storage. Now you remember where you created your root folder on desktop, and then you
Yes.
browse for it. So this is it. You just select it. You
Yes.
open it. Once you click on it, it will display the name of the folder here. Once you can find the name of the folder, then go ahead and click on what? Select folder.
That's folder.
Automatically, it will install that folder and also define the file structure. Can you see it now? So
Yes,
now,
sir.
having project host, and then under it, you can see the arrow that's illustrating the hierarchy of your file structure. So right now, this
Yes.
facing down means that we are in which directory? Project host. The
Or just us.
inside project host, we have what? Other what? Two, other three directory.
3 folder.
So 3 folder. Now, if I want to go inside the CSS folder, all I need just to click on that arrow. You can see that it's facing down now, right?
Yes, yes.
Whatever you are doing here right now is going inside what? This directory. So that is why you must know how to
Okay.
expand your directory, and you must know how to what?
Mm.
Collapse it.
Close. Okay.
Exactly. So you must know how to
Yes, sir.
one. You must know how to expand it. Okay, now once that is understood, the next thing is to create our HTML file. So your HTML file, like I said, should be created within the main what? Directory.
Directory, yes.
How do you know that you are in that directory with this icon facing what? Down.
Down.
Once you have ensured, you click on this empty space. Once you click here, you will see the framing structure. You see how it frames it now? It means that
Yes.
you have selected the entire what? Project what? Storage. Then you navigate
Yes.
to this icon here. This one
Mm.
represents what? New file, while this is
Yes, sir.
new folder. What you need right now is a file, not what? Folder. Now,
Folder.
supposing you created just Project Austin, you can load
Mm.
just that here, and then from here, you will use this to create what? The CSS. You will use this to create what? Image. You will use it to,
Image and
yes. But
the
since I've
JavaScript.
done it over there, there is no need. So I will just go straight
Wait
to
for
what?
that.
File. Now, once you hit the add button, you will see the box. That box is for you to define two things. One, the name of the file and the language extension. The language extension is the keyword that represents the type of file you are developing. So, for example, every first page of every site, it is called what? Index. Dot, that dot in programming means period, which means that you are about to define or describe your language extension. Which of the language are we using? HTML, right?
HTML. Yes.
Have the word HTML. Make sure that it's not written in capital letter. So
Okay.
HTML. The moment you type HTML, an icon is generated. Can you see it? These are
Yes.
angle brackets, which means that is a tag.
Yes.
That is why I told us that HTML is a markup language that uses tags to create content. We are going to see that in a moment. So once you see this icon, it means that you have already activated what? A language called HTML. Now, to establish this file, just click outside anywhere. So automatically you have what? Created what? A file, but the file is empty. Now, you are supposed to start writing your code from the scratch. But because we are using a popular and an advanced editor, we understand that the editor has already built in a simple file structure for HTML that we can just invoke and start what? Expanding it based on the content we want to publish. So How do we call out that structure? You just simply type HT. Once you type HT, it will bring out what? HTML5. So right now, the highest HTML we are using is what? HTML5.
HTML5.
We have HTML 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, and then now the latest we are using is HTML5. So you click, you see, as soon as I click, it brought out all the what? The simple HTML file. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay, so what you are going to do for me before I proceed now is to share your screen and get to this place, all the way from creating your first folder and then loading it here, then establishing this file. So
All
quickly,
right, sir.
let me see. I think I've enabled you to share. Good.
I send me. Okay, sir.
All right.
I'm done.
So you cannot share now.
Okay.
Comment, just give me a minute. All right, so okay, so the next part is for us to understand these tags and their functions because we are supposed to be the one to write them from scratch. But since HTML have the browser, sorry, the editor have already helped us to call them out, then we need to understand them. Now, I'm going to take them line by line. Hope you
Okay.
now, okay. Now, the whole of this line, which is doc type, declare the type of document you are writing. So you can see that it says doc type HTML, which means that this document is what? HTML document. Now, and all these that I am explaining, they are called tags, T-A-G, tags. So HTML tags, they are like the building blocks which help us to create the content, just like your physical site. You know, we arrange the blocks, right, to form the root
Yes.
code. So in this case
Yes.
now, since we are also building virtual houses, we need block,
Mm.
just like the way you need block in your physical store.
Yes.
So the blocks in this case, they are the tags. The tags are what you use in creating the contents. So that is what I'm explaining now. So what I'm explaining now
Okay.
are called HTML default word tags. The words that have already predefined that you will just inherit and work with before we start adding our own. So
Mm.
I just explained the role of this. This slide is just to declare that the type of document you are writing is what? HTML. Now,
ML.
good. Now, whenever you are working with tag, always understand that tag comes with three sections. I think let me quickly explain that so that to clear HTML tags structure. HTML tag structure. Now, we have what we call the opening section. So you have here as opening tag, and then you have the contents parts. Going to illustrate all this properly. Then we have the closing tag, which should be, let's say, the closing tag. And then, of course, I close it. Now, with this structure, everything you have inside the angle bracket, they are called what? The tag. And that is why, by definition, we can say a tag or tags are keywords that are surrounded by the angle bracket. So anything you see inside the angle bracket, either here or here, should be referred to as what? Tag. Now,
Tag.
everything you see inside the angle bracket, which are the tag, they are like internal function. In this case, they are like functions in HTML that have been pre-written. That is why I use the word keyword. That tags are keyword surrounded by what? Angle bracket. Now, we need to understand how the tags are rendered. So as a developer, there must be a platform for rendering your code. Rendering here means what? To execute, to display the result to the user. This is your back end. So whatever you are writing here, like this is a tag now. So this tag, this is the opening section. This is the what? The closing what?
Closing section.
And then this is the what? The content section. Now, I am saying that we need to render our code. To code rendering means you are executing it and you are outputting, you are displaying what the user wants to see to them. So
Yes.
both the developer and the users does not use the same interface to access their content. The users does not have any business viewing this interface that we are. This is like our back end where we are developing, where we are posting the content from to the user. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Now, anything you find inside the angle bracket are not accessible by the users. Always take note of that. So don't expect the
Yeah.
user to see title. The user can only see what is in the content part of the tag. So if I execute this code now, the user will only see what out of the whole of this
Document.
document. Good. Now, if they now want to see the structure, the tag, how I develop it, they will have to right click and select what inspect on their browser. I'll show you all that. Now that we know what tags are and the structure, so let me go back to my explanation. So this is a tag, right?
Yes.
This tag does not have closing section. Have you noticed?
Yes.
Any tag that does not have closing section, that is, the difference between opening section and the closing section is the presence of what? The forward slash. So we have the forward
Yes.
on the closing tag, but we don't have it on the what? The opening.
Opening.
Now, when a tag has opening session, only opening session, it means two things are missing. The content is what? Not there, and the closing part is not also what? There.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Such tags, they are called self closing tag, self closing tag, or empty tag. So this is an example of what? Self what? Close,
Self-closing tag.
because it does not have closing section. It is not enveloping all this. Hope you notice that. All these are not necessarily.
Yes.
It's just on its own, which means
Yes.
declare the language, the document type. Then here is a container. How do I know that is a container? Because I can see it was closing section here. It means that all these are wrapped what? Inside it. Have you noticed that?
Yes. Yes.
Supposing I want to develop it manually, if not that I called it out from the editor, what I will have done is that
Mm.
after writing this, then I will write this, then open it up, then write all this what inside it. Exactly.
Yes.
Now,
Yes, sir.
it's just to explain to you that you have started speaking what? HTML. Here, you only declare that the type of document you want to write is HTML. Then here, you now started speaking the language. You open it up. Then here, there is something inside it, which is what? Lang, and the value
And,
is what? En. Now,
and
it's something you need to know whenever you are working with this language called HTML. There's what we call attributes. Attribute. Attribute provide additional information about any of the HTML elements you are working with. So now this
okay.
is giving us additional information about this tag. And what is that additional information we are deriving from here? Is the language, the encoding language specification. So this is language, then this is what? English. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
So you can go to let's say Google, and search for other words, maybe web development language encoders. You will see English, you see China, you see other languages. So when you see it like this, it means that what? This website will be rendered on a browser with what? English what? Language.
Language.
But today we have API that you can actually subscribe for that will be translating the what? The language. That's why when you visit
Language.
this cryptocurrency website and other sites, you see language translator API that is added that keep translating the language from one to another.
Another.
Now, the whole of this head is another container that is housing three elements. Can you see them? This
Yes.
character set, UTF-8, meta name, viewport, title. They are all inside what? The head. So in other words, the head is for displaying your website description or for displaying information about your website. Now, the first line of code, which is the meta character set, UTF-8 stands for Unicode Transform Formatting. So there are two standard. These are like summary of all the type of contents you can develop in a website. So an expert or set of experts in some years ago came together and determined what the kind of content a developer can create that can run on a browser across board. So they now arrive at compressing these different characters as in word into different versions. We have a version that is for developers. We have a version that is for application developer. Now, for web development, we have the UTF-8, while application developer uses UTF-16. So you can only see these two, either UTF-8 or UTF what? 16,
16.
which falls under what? Character set. The word character
Set.
letter. Set means what? Their combination. Good. Now, meta name. Meta name, this is what makes your website to be responsive on laptop. I don't know if you understand what is called website responsiveness. Let me just
Yeah.
good. Website responsiveness. If you load this website on a browser, on a laptop device, which has a very big screen, how it will display, how the item, the content will fit to that particular word, device width and height is what we mean by what? Responsiveness. And how it will also display on a mobile phone. Does it mean that when you
Yes.
laptop, everything will display, and then once it comes on a phone, some things will scatter. So when you are developing a website, you need to bear in mind that your website must be what? Responsive. It must fit
Safe.
across different what? Devices. Now, this is a default configuration for responsiveness, the whole of this line. Now, but
Okay.
now discover that this configuration only works for laptop and probably some tablets, but it doesn't work for mobile phone. So that is why, and your priority when you want to specify your website responsiveness should be phone first, not laptop, because statistics have shown that out of 100% of website users, 90 to 95% uses what? Mobile phone.
Yes.
For that reason, you shouldn't develop the website for laptop users. You should develop the website for who? For mobile phone what?
Mobile users. Yes, users.
For developing, this one is already giving us laptop standard. So that is why we are
Mm.
learn Bootstrap. I did not mention that it's part of what you will learn, but it's not a language, it's a framework. It's a framework. So you are going to learn framework called what? Bootstrap. So that is the framework we are going to use to implement JavaScript and CSS in order for our website to be what? Responsive.
Responsive.
All the devices, any type of device they use in launching it, it should be able to what? To fit properly. Are you following?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good. It's just like this now. This is laptop responsiveness. Now, if I right click, I want to check how it's going to display on mobile. You select what? Inspect. From
Inspect.
you can see that I can toggle. Look at this. That is telling me what? You can see that until I inspect, I could not see the what? The code. But now that I've inspected, I'm seeing the CSS code and I'm seeing part of what?
Mm.
HTML code. Now here I want to
Yes.
one device to another. I'll click here. So you can see this is on mobile, on phone. This is how this
Yes. Yes.
can see that everything is fitting, nothing is missing. So which means that your
Yes.
website is what? Responsive.
Save.
Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Now, you can also check other devices. How is it going to respond on iPhone 12 Pro? You click here. So you can see this is another what? Device. So anybody using this phone, this is how the website is going to display on their device. So when you are developing as a developer, you need to be checking your responsiveness. It's very important. So I believe with that, you understand the role of what? This line. So this is just for laptops,
Report.
for laptop standard. It doesn't work on mobile. That's the reason why we will
Okay.
implement Bootstrap so that it can capture all the devices. Then, of course, let's talk about the title. So the title is simply giving your website a description. When the user logs into this website, what would they see at the top of the browser? Let me show you here. Look at what you are seeing at the top of the browser here. Digital Z Hub,
Yes.
right? What
Yes. Yeah.
instead of saying something like document or new tab, they should see a
Yes.
full word that describe where they are. So everybody that log in here, once they see we are in what? In a different location. So that is what you code here. So I'm going to change. If I run this on the browser now, and how do I test my code? How do I test it while I'm designing locally? You right click within your document, you select open what with live server. Now, if you have
So,
installed live server as an extension, you click here. Hope you are seeing what I'm clicking on.
yes.
You click on it, it's called extension installation button. So once you click on it, you search for live server, because live server will help us to be updating our web pages as we are developing without me refreshing each time I go to the browser. So in this case now, I have already installed. If I have not installed, you will see it listed here, and then it will also carry what? Install. So all you need
So,
just to what? Click on what? Install, and then it will read for some time, and then you will see on install. So once you can see, for example, if I click here now, what are you seeing here? On
uninstall.
that what is already what? Installed.
Install. Yes.
So I can go back to this to access my file. Now, let's go back to the file. If I want to launch it on the browser to see the front end, how it's going to be presented to the users, you right click and then open with the live server. So I just want to show you the impact of this title first before we adjust it. So you can see what are we having here? Document.
Document.
Because we have not updated what? This title. So I need to remove here. I'll put a meaningful word. Let's say what? Welcome. Let's say welcome to Digitech Z. Now, if I, instead of me right clicking again and open with this, since I'm already running the file, I can just locate it. By the time you come back, the live server have already refreshed the browser and outputted the what?
Yes.
Did you understand it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is the role of this. Then, of course, this is where the head closed. The head that opens here, closed here. Now, we have another
Yes.
body here. Now, understanding how the body works matter. The body is actually the main container that defines everything that comes in the body section of the browser. Look at this now. Nothing is showing here, right? So
Yes.
thing you want to create here, which should be the major content, should be wrapped in the body tag. So if I want to publish any content here, the question is that where do I write the code? That code should be written within what? Body tag. Don't write it
Body
out
tag.
or inside any of these other tags. So I'll come in here. Now, there is what we call comments in programming. Thank God that we already learned that also in Python. Comments are only used for code explanation. So you use comment to explain code to yourself and the third party. So how do we activate comment here? Because it is necessary for you to always use comment to explain each of your code section so that when you are going through that code, you know what you write each of the set of what the code for. And there is also what we call debugging in programming. Debugging means when there are issues, when a code is not giving the expected result. How do you find out what could be the cause? You debug the code. Then at the end of the day, we can say debugging is the art of searching for the cause of errors and also providing what? Solution. So it's one of the skill every programmer need to learn. As you are learning any language, also learn to debug it. Every language
Yes.
have different debugging level. HTML does not really have much debugging because it does not really have much principle. It can tolerate some of the little errors. But when you get to JavaScript now, even with not adding a dot where you are supposed to add it, the whole code will not run. So now, for you to make your debugging exercise easier for you, always use comment to describe your activity. How do you activate comment? You hold down the control button and press the / icon on your keyboard. So this is the comment icon in what? HTML. So I'll simply say, I want to declare what? Or let's say tag declaration. Tag declaration. So what I want to actually program is that I want to program a title that says about what? Digitech Zeal. I want to put it here. About digital is a content. And I told her that HTML is the one responsible for what? Creating what? Content. So I'll come back.
Content.
Now, each time you want to create any content, please, you need to also factor out which of the tag is responsible for that content. If I want to add an image to that page, I should know the tag for creating what? Images. If I want to add a link to that place, I should know the tag for creating link. So for each content you want to publish, you must know the tag that is primarily responsible for that content creation. Now, what I said we want to create is a heading, right? That says
Yes.
about digital zeal. Now, it means that I need to contact heading tag. So let me add it here using any of the heading tag. Using any of the heading tag. Now, the heading tag ranges from, we have H1 to what? H6. So
6.
now let's for you. Each time you want to create heading anywhere, you either use H1, you use what? H2, you use H3. But for now, let me use H1. Now, because I am using an advanced editor, once I type H and 1, it brings it from its library. Then I'll what? Press enter. It will just give me the what? The complete tag. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I talked about contents. What should come in between? If you open the website now, nothing will be published. If I go there now, the user
Yes.
why? Because I have not supplied what? The content for that tag.
Content.
So my content is about DG. I'm not minding the capital letter because I will achieve that with what? CSS. Digitech, Zeal, Hub. Now, once I go back to my front end to check, you see it what? Publish.
Yes.
Good. Now, I also want to add another tag. I'm just looking at 3 tags before we end the class. So this is heading tag. So I can bring in another comment line and also describe what I'm about to do. So what I'm about to do is what? Paragraph tag declaration. Denoted with P. So paragraph tag is another tag which can be used to create content or to describe your heading. You know, it's just like you publish about DigiTech. When somebody sees this, what do you think is in the person's mind? He wants to read through who are they, right?
Yes. Yes.
To write content for the heading, you need a paragraph tag. And what I'm going to simply do is just to type what? P and press what? Enter. Now, the content, if I have content, I think I have here, let me just go to their website and go to About Us page and quickly lift some content there. So about DigiTech. So this is about them. So you can just come here. Let's say I take this content, I'll copy it, and then go to my development environment. In between the tag or the bracket, I will just what? Paste. So if I go back to the front end now I have what? The content display.
Yes.
Good. Now, the last thing I want to show us before I leave you with an assignment to get to this same place is to add a descriptive image here, an image that illustrates their service, that someone will just look at and know that they are into what? Offering technological what? Training. So I will also quickly go back to their website and see an active picture I can take. Let me see if I can take the one in the home page. So I'll just right click here and what? Save image. Let me see if I can save it. So that is not a direct.
Save as.
I'm supposed to say save image as. So it's not a direct image. I want to look for direct image. So let's say I'm taking this, save image as. Then remember, I have to direct it to what? My folder, right?
Yes, that root folder.
So I have to direct the image there. So I'll just name it, let's say TG Peace. Let me just give it this name. Now, by the time I go back to my development environment, then I will now need another tag for publishing images, which is IMG. So let me also use comment here. Image tag declaration. So anytime you want to add image to your website while developing, there's no other option. You must use what? IMG.
IMG.
And the IMG comes with 2 attributes. Remember, I've told you what attributes are. The attributes provide
Yes.
information about what? The tag. In this case, we
Yes.
have 2 attributes giving us additional information about the image. The first attribute explain the source, the path, where is the image coming from. The second attribute explain the alternative text. If for any reason the image fails to display on the browser, what will they see instead of seeing nothing? So let me start with the
A
source.
description.
The source, I will call the image using what we call relative method. You will just go inside the attribute value section and then slash. Once you type slash, it automatically calls out all the file you have in what? Your main directory. So from here, you can easily navigate to where you have your image and
Image.
also select what? The name. So if I go to the front end, I should see what? The picture added. So you can see that this is not a very good user interface, right? Because CSS.
Yes.
So in our next meeting, what I'm going to do is to go straight to CSS, because we'll be learning HTML and CSS side by side. We'll be learning them together. So once we
Yes.
create content, we style it. But today's class is just on HTML so that you can also.
Okay.
So the next class, I will just start from CSS and we will just resume from this same project so that we don't have to start creating from scratch. Well, let me explain the alternative attribute. Now, supposing for one reason, for any reason, let's say you forget to put the G. For that reason, the image is not going to show again. You can see that they are not seeing anything, right? Now, instead of leaving it blank, you can always create a backup text. Like this is digitz underscore picture. So anytime the image fails to display, they are going to be seeing what? This text that will give them an idea, okay, I am supposed to be having their picture. So that's so anytime the image is able to display, this other backup can never what? Be called. So it is only when this one fails that this one what? Will take over. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are stopping here, and your assignment is to develop your website, your home page, your index page to where I stop.
Okay.
I want to have this,
Okay, sir.
have this, have this.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. You still need the video, Abby?